I'm going to let you into a secret. Whenever we feature this car, the Kia EV6, our website lights up like Blackpool illuminations. Right now, I don't think any other mainstream electric car generates more interest and debate than this. I reckon that right now, the Kia EV6 is the most wanted electric car in the UK.
Yeah, but wanting it doesn't really mean anything, does it? I mean, yes, when I get home tonight, I want to go on the treadmill and maybe even perhaps run a marathon, but that doesn't mean I'm going to do it, does it? What I'm more likely to do is grab a chocolate bar and have a bath. But what I'm trying to say here is that you can say as many lovely things about the Kia as you like, but if we're trying to define popular, well, there is one electric car that has parted more people from their cash than any other in the UK, and it's this, the Tesla Model 3. This was the UK's best-selling car in September 2021, and that's not just the best-selling electric car. No, it's the best-selling car overall. Think about that for a second. But okay, yes, I will concede that the Kia is a great package, and I'm willing to entertain the idea that maybe, just maybe, the Model 3 has finally been reeled in by the competition. But I'm going to need convincing. Ginny, I'm not going to put any money on the Kia coming out on top once we've crunched the numbers.
Ah, okay, fighting talk. But I've been driving this Kia for a few days now, Nicki Shields, and I am confident that we have a new champion in our midst. I can taste victory already. Come on, let's get on with it.
Okay, but before battle commences, please do remember to subscribe to our channel, click the notifications button, make sure your belt is secured, and remember that your nearest exit may be behind you in the event.
Nicki, wrong announcement.
Oh, all right, okay, let's go.
Now let's start with the basics, shall we? So this is the Kia EV6 GT Line S, which at the time of our recording comes with a price tag of just under £52,000. Now it's got a 77.4 kilowatt hour battery, four-wheel drive and a range of 300 miles, all pretty good. Now this might be Kia's first purpose-built all-electric car, but it's far from the brand's first venture into the world of electric. The first generation of Soul, the first electric car I really drove, wowed us back in 2014, and the e-Niro has been a permanent fixture at the top of the electric car sales charts for at least the past 3 years. But this takes things to a new level, because under here is a completely new set of foundations which will eventually be used in a whole range of Kia and Hyundai electric cars. And it has quite a few party tricks up its sleeve that I'll reveal a bit later.
And this is the Tesla Model 3 long range. Now, like the Kia, it's also all-wheel drive and has an official range of 360 miles from its 82 kilowatt hour battery. Now, it's been on sale here in the UK since 2019. And well, as you'll know, if you've driven anywhere in the last 12 months, Tesla has sold rather a lot of them. Now, it comes with a price tag of £48,490, which means, Ginny Buckley, it has more range for less cash. See, we haven't even started and the Tesla's already winning.
In your dreams, Nicki Shields, in your dreams. Don't really need to say much, do I? I think Kia has done a fantastic job with the EV6. You know, car companies are usually really cautious when it comes to design, aren't they? So we often end up with bigger or smaller versions of whatever sells the most. That is not the case here. If I didn't have the badge on the bonnet and I hadn't seen this before, I doubt that I would have said it was a Kia, and I don't think you would either. You know, the bumper design at the front is really quite extreme, and I love the way the line sweeps up to the lights. Look, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but in a way that makes me like it even more. Good job, Kia. Great looking car.
But not everyone wants to stand out from the crowds, do they? If you want your cars to look simple, uncluttered, classy, well, there really is one car in my book. And it's this one, isn't it? It's a nice piece of design. If you look at the front, there is nothing here that doesn't need to be here. All the essential bits, but just done really, really well. Okay, it's not going to maybe get the neighbours gossiping in the same way that the Kia will. Would 10-year-old me have had one on the wall? Probably not. But there is a kind of elegant charm to the way the Model 3 looks. What isn't so charming though is how much it costs to choose a colour other than white. If you want anything other than tumble dry or white, you're going to be paying an extra £1,100. And if you want it in red to match our Kia, well, you're going to have to find an extra £2,100. Ouch! And I thought my wardrobe was expensive.
Now, if you think the outside of the EV6 looks a little busy, just take a look at what's going on in here. You've got two screens that curve into each other, a button for probably every day of the year, and a rather space-age floating console. But you know what? I really like it. Look, it's not as spacious as you'd find in, say, the Ioniq 5, but it feels cosy in here, and it also has a sportier feel. So this dual screen has about the same info as the Tesla, but I think it's arranged in a more useful way. I have a very heavy right foot and I like to keep the speed right in my eye line. The left-hand display is the touchscreen, and so are the switches underneath, and it's all pretty intuitive to use. I really like some of the details, like the air vents. Often on cars with big central screens, the vents are hidden away wherever they can be fitted in. I'm not sure they work too well though. It was chilly this morning. The EV6 does take a long time to warm up. Thank goodness for the heated seats and the steering wheel. As for the rest of it, well, you get loads of storage, plenty of USB ports along with a 12-volt power outlet. It's all very practical and very usable. So I have a love-hate relationship going on with the back of this car. So let's get the bad out the way first. It's not that bad. But it is slightly claustrophobic in here. That's because you've got this lovely sloping roofline, which looks great, but it does feel like it's coming down on you slightly. And also you've got a very narrow rear window as well. It would help if the sunroof extended into the back, which it doesn't. And also this black headliner doesn't help things either. And I'm not a massive fan of all the plastic on the back of the seats. But let's move on to the positives, shall we? No transmission tunnel, which is brilliant. You get great leg room here. It's also a really nice wide rear seat, plenty of room for 3 adults to travel on a longer journey comfortably. The seats, by the way, well, the outer seats are heated. It's freezing today. I'm loving my heated seat here in the back. And you've got little air vents tucked away there, handy compartments there on the back of the seats, and also really neat little charging points on either side of the seat. All in all, I think it just about gets a thumbs up, but there are a few gripes here too. So round at the boot, well, the floor is really high, so you actually have a very shallow usable area. Now there is a bit more storage under the false floor, but it's really narrow, so it's not massively useful. Kia quotes a capacity of 490 litres, which is okay when you compare it to other cars, but it's the shape that doesn't make it that usable. You can also feel the materials take a bit of a nosedive back here with lots of cheaper plastics, which is also a bit of a shame. It all feels like a bit of a missed opportunity. There are a couple of nice touches, like handles here on the side to drop the back seats, but I don't know. It's just not as usable as it could be. And if you're hoping for more storage space round at the front, then you are going to be slightly disappointed, because this all-wheel drive version comes with a front that only has 20 litre capacity. You can barely get your charging cable in there. If you are after more space up front, then the rear-wheel drive version has more than double.
Now, we know that the interior of the Model 3 is probably one of its most controversial features. Some absolutely love the brutal efficiency of just having one screen that controls everything, and I mean everything inside the car. And then there are others that I think perhaps see it as a step too far. Personally, I'm sort of in between the two. I do like the fact that Tesla has pared everything back to the bare essentials. You know, I think a lot of the switches in our cars are really only used once in a blue moon, so why add to that visual clutter? But it is quite a leap to get used to, I must say. But ultimately, we do actually live our lives on our smartphones and via apps. So why should our cars be any different? And we are very adaptable at the end of the day. It all sounds like a bit of a technophobe's nightmare, but actually you do get used to it. I've been driving this for a couple of days now, and I'm pretty used to knowing exactly where all the features are hidden. No, I agree, it isn't initially as intuitive of having a row of buttons like you have in a Kia, but once you get to know it, it's a very slick system. Plus, you can watch Netflix or catch up with the latest Electrifying.com review. So that's extra brownie points for the Tesla, surely. It is all a matter of taste, of course, but the rest of the interior is a bit, dare I say it, bland. I mean, this fake wood, is it a bit naff? I think it's so stripped back in here that it feels rather clinical. That said, the driving position is good, the seats are decently shaped and comfortable on long journeys, and there's loads of space to store all kinds of junk. Now back here there is a decent amount of space. It's not exactly huge, but I think this really nice panoramic roof makes it feel less enclosed than the Kia. And then of course the flat floor means your legs have plenty of fidget room. Now the rear seats have a 60-40 split, so you can extend the boot to carry more luggage. But there is no getting away from the fact that the Model 3 is a saloon rather than a hatch, which of course is always the more practical choice. Now the bootlet is, like most things on a car, powered, but as you can see, the opening for the luggage area is a bit restricted. Now, there isn't actually any limit on space inside, and this rather nice flat floor holds even more storage. And if we do come round to the front, you'll immediately notice that the frunk in the Tesla is quite a lot bigger than in the Kia.
Both of these cars rank pretty highly for range and also charging ability. The Kia has a range of 300 miles and comes with a clever 800-volt charging system that means it can charge at speeds of up to 250 kilowatts on a suitable charger. That means you can charge from 20 to 80% in under 20 minutes. Today we're getting an impressive 3.9 miles per kilowatt hour, and it showed a range of 280 miles when it was at 100%. The EV6 also comes with what's known as V2L, or Vehicle to Load System. That means you can use the energy stored in the main battery to power all manner of electric appliances. You can even use it to charge another electric car should you feel the need. It also has a heat pump fitted as standard, which takes waste heat from the battery cooling system and uses it in the cabin. Just not very well, unfortunately. The Tesla doesn't have a new 800-volt charging system, but it is still capable of charging at over 200 kilowatts. In theory, that would add around 10 minutes more to the Model 3's charge time for 20 to 80%, and it has a longer official range of 360 miles. Now, at this point, it would normally be cue Nicki to bang on about how brilliant the Tesla supercharging network is and how it makes the Model 3 far more attractive to driving long distances than other cars does. But it seems that the Ace card is no longer as powerful for Tesla as it once was. Yeah, and that's because Tesla is planning to actually open up its once exclusive network to non-Tesla drivers, which is pretty amazing because it is an incredible network. There's a pilot scheme that's running in the Netherlands, and we've been reliably informed that British non-Tesla drivers will be able to access the network here in the UK. Very exciting. But there are a few problems that Tesla will need to address, not least the fact that loads of electric cars, like this Kia EV6 for example, have the charging ports on the driver's side. Tesla's supercharging bays have very short cables because all of their models have them on the other side. Which means, Ginny, that you are going to have to block one of my bays to charge your car. That is not going to please me at all. Now, there is an awful lot to like about the way the EV6 drives. So this is the range-topping model, and we've got a motor at both ends and a rather punchy power output of 321 brake horsepower, which feels like more than enough on country roads like this. The ride is actually pretty firm. It's a bit jittery, but not uncomfortable. Kia's done a pretty decent job of keeping all the road noise out. It's nice and quiet in here. And you can choose from a whopping 6 levels of brake regeneration by paddles on the steering wheel. And that's something I really like in electric cars. It's where you capture the energy that you would lose when you brake and slow down, put it back into the battery. It gives a kind of one-pedal driving feel. If you select I-pedal mode, you get pretty effective one-pedal driving. And if you select auto, then the car works out the most efficient way, the most efficient form of regeneration based on the roads that you're on. But the question is it fun to drive? in the way that, I hate to say it, the Model 3 is fun to drive. And I guess that just kind of depends on what your definition of fun is. Personally, I feel that Kia might have tried a bit too hard to make this car feel sporty. If you press the sport button, you get a different driving mode that makes the accelerator more sensitive, just changes the steering feel slightly. But I have to say, I just don't think it does the EV6 many favours. It's a lot harder to drive it smoothly. It just feels, just right now, a bit more fidgety, a bit more on edge. If you're anything like me, you'll stick it straight back into normal, or maybe eco, because I do like saving my range. And calmness is restored. You can relax again. The other thing that I do find quite distracting is all the infotainment stuff with all of those buttons that I mentioned earlier. Look, I know that the minimalism of the Model 3 isn't for everybody, but because I've driven Teslas a lot and I now find the system really intuitive and easy to use, it just seems to be far more straightforward when you're driving to do the things you want to do. I'm a bit kind of like half looking down there, wondering what to do, and I keep turning the radio on when I'm not planning to do in this. But please, don't tell Nicki I said that. She's already very smug that she's championing the Model 3.
Now, I have driven quite a few Model 3s over the last couple of years, and I must admit that I really like the balance that Tesla's struck. This long-range model is about as good as it gets because it doesn't have the harsh ride of the performance, but there's still plenty of acceleration to make you smile. So I think there's probably maybe a bit more road noise in this than in comparison to the Kia, which is a bit surprising because this has got smaller wheels, smaller tyres, but it's definitely not a deal breaker. And the brakes have plenty of power, and I just really like the way it threads itself through corners.
Where the Kia has 3 preset driving modes, the Model 3 is a bit different and lets you choose your own cocktail of features. You can choose sport or chill accelerator response, or opt for comfort, standard or sport steering feel. Obviously, it's harder to flip between the modes as you can in the Kia, but generally once you have the car to your liking, you tend to leave it as is.
Okay, so I actually think this is one of the few times that we've done a comparison test without assuming that the Tesla Model 3 would walk it.
Yeah, I think you're right on that, actually. I mean, we've seen other cars like the Polestar run it really close, but I think the huge lead that car had just a couple of years ago, I think it's starting to go, you know. Especially when the supercharging network is opened up and that unique X factor is taken away.
Yeah, that is true. But I do think even when you take that into account, they're very hard to separate. I mean, if you look at the costs, there's really nothing between them. The Kia has some bits that the Tesla doesn't, and vice versa. So I think if we were trying to spec them up to be the same, then there wouldn't be much in it. And actually, I was looking at the monthly payments for both of them using their own finance PCPs. And like for like, they were pretty much identical, £800 a month each. Okay,
that is a really good point. But if you're looking long term, you could argue that the Tesla's 4-year, 50,000 mile warranty isn't as good as the Kia's 7-year, 100,000 mile one.
Although, don't you think we both agree that the Tesla Model 3 is the better car to drive and it's more efficient in the long range?
Yeah, I do. There's only one way to decide this. Come on, after 3. Let's both say the name of the car we want to take home today.
Okay,
you on for
then.
that? Yeah? All right. 1, 2, 3. Tesla! Oh, no.
Sorry, Kia. Don't take it personally. So it is another win for the Tesla Model 3. But honestly, this has been probably the closest that
really
it's ever
close.
come to a review. So if you don't want to follow the crowd, then the Kia makes a really fantastic alternative.
But come on, do you agree or disagree with us? Which one would you choose? Do let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and switch those notifications on. And if you're planning to make the switch to electric, then head over to electrifying.com for all the latest information, reviews and beginner's guides.